Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Intel Extreme Masters, New York City. That's right, after a 2-year gap, we are back in the Big Apple, New York City, for the second time. 2011, the first time, of course, won by DongRaeGu. And now, of course, back as part of the Intel Extreme Masters Season 8 season. There's a couple of seasons in there. We have already visited Shanghai, of course. Now in New York. Next time, we'll be off to Singapore. And after that, in Brazil, we'll also visit Cologne on our way. And then finally, to the World Championship Final in Katowice at the Spodek Arena. It's going to be terrific. Before we get there, we do have a fantastic StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm tournament to bring you live from Comic-Con here in New York. Let's take a look at the 4 days and how they're going to shape out. And this is the 4 days here in New York. We'll start today with the 2 open brackets. We'll move on to the group stage tomorrow. We'll explain a little bit more about that in a moment. We'll then have the group stage finishing on Saturday and also the playoff stages. And then finally, on Sunday, we'll hand out $25,000 as part of our prize pool here for Intel Extreme Masters New York alone. Lots more money to be given out throughout the season as well. There is one man that we like to introduce at the start of every Intel Extreme Masters, of course. He's the man that makes it happen. He's the man that gets all the money from Intel. He's the one and only, the Director of Esports at the Electronic Sports League, Mr. Michal Plikarts. I was prepared for something, but not that. That was nearly one of those, yeah, one of those. How you doing? Are you good?
I'm very, very good. Happy to be in New York City. Happy to be back in New York City with Intel Extreme Masters. It's been long overdue, and I'm hoping for a great show.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years since we've been back, so it's great to visit New York, of course. Specifically, we've been at the Jacob Javits Center a few times, you and I, over the years, haven't we?
Yeah, but this one is special because this one has got the biggest stage and probably, arguably, the best players we've had ever in North America.
Yeah, let's just talk a little bit about the players. I'm not going to give too much away, but DongRaeGu is back there right now, ready to come out, defending champion from 2 years ago. We don't say that often.
Yeah, it doesn't really happen that often in esports. It's a tall order to defend any championship in esports. We'll see if he can do, but there are lots and lots of great players here, so could be Flash, could be Live, could be Nanua, could be anyone.
All right, well, thank you very much, and great job at getting us all here to New York as ever. Thank you so much. Thank you. Right, okay, Michal's going to disappear backstage. He's going to be back on Sunday to make the presentations and give away the money. It's always the bit I think he weeps a little bit about. God, my rib cage is hurting now as well. He's a big man, is our Michal. Right then, so here's how we're going to break down the weekend. First of all, tomorrow starts the group stage. Let's show you the 16 players that will be in the 4 groups. Right now, we only know 12 of them, of course, and as you can see in those groups, we have some phenomenal players. Carmack already alluded to them. TLO up there in Group 1, also Hyun in there as well, and then go over to Group B, Naniwa's in there, still trying to get enough points for WCS at BlizzCon. Hero, QXC, the local boy. On to Group C, we have God himself, of course, Flash, and he goes head-to-head with State in that group, local man. And then in Group D, Huck from Canada, looking to go really well against SOS, and Revival, one of our latest Intel Extreme Masters champions as well. That all happens tomorrow, and as you probably saw in that graphic, we've got 4 spots across all of those groups, and we need to fill them, and here's how we're going to do that. First of all, today, we're going to kick off with our open brackets. Open bracket A looks like this. You've got, again, another phenomenal set of players in there, notably Snoot at the top of the bracket, and at the bottom of the bracket, Dim Muslim, hoping for good things for the Brit as well. All of these players, of course, are chasing not only Intel Extreme Masters points, but they're also chasing WCS points to get them to BlizzCon. Not all of them, of course, some more than others, but some are right on the bubble. That's never a bigger thing than also in the open bracket B. Let's show you that bracket as well. And as you can see, some notable players in there. Life is amongst them, the defending champion DongRaeGu, local man Sasquatch, and of course, Suppy is in there as well, cheering for the USA. It's great to have the American players and the Canadians here as well. It's time for match number 1 here at the Intel Extreme Masters, New York City. Please welcome to the stage, it's our first 2 players, the defending champion and the challenger, DongRaeGu and Sasquatch. Okay. Right then, so let's get game number one. Our commentary team for this one, you know them, you love them. They are the official WCS EU partnership of Apollo and Colaris. Take it away, guys.
Thanks very much, Red Eye. Welcome to the caster's desk here for day number one of the Intel Extreme Masters New York. My name's Colaris, alongside Apollo. How you doing, man?
Well, hello there, Colaris. I am doing fantastic. We're in New York, a beautiful city, a beautiful place. I've been having a lot of fun so far in the city, been going around traveling a little bit, walking a lot. But now it's time for some StarCraft 2 action, and we're here with the open bracket to find out some players that can make it into the main tournament.
Yeah, we have DongRaeGu and Sasquatch as our first two players here, battling to advance through in that open bracket, as we will have a best of three here as they do start vetoing the maps. DongRaeGu with his eyesight there, trying to read what's going on that little clipboard.
Yeah, as you can see, I mean, it's going to be a best of three, so both players are going to have 2 vetoes each from the map pool that we have presented in front of us. And then we'll be left with a couple of maps that we will play on. But of course, DongRaeGu is the reigning champion of the Intel Extreme Masters New York Comic-Con, right? He won it 2 years ago. The current reigning champion, of course, being Revival from Shanghai. Sasquatch gonna obviously be up for a tall task here against DongRaeGu. But anything is possible with a home ground advantage, Colaris.
That's true. That is true. Sasquatch, he's been one of the more the stronger American players, I would like to say, in terms of when he established himself initially during the times of MLG. And then from there, kind of trying to ride that wave of success. But DongRaeGu is going to be a tough one for him here. DongRaeGu, in terms of ZVZ, for the longest time was very, very strong indeed. And we'll have to see if he's going to be able to topple him.
I mean, the question is, Colaris, is DRG back?
Is he back?
He's starting to perform well again, and this could be his tournament where he puts his peg on a top finish. And we'll see if he can do that, as this is where it all begins. Of course, he's got to qualify for the main tournament. There's a bunch of good players in the open bracket. DeMuslim, Desro, Life, Hack, San, a bunch of good players. And as you can see on screen, here are the 3 maps that we're actually going to be going to very shortly here. So Belcher, then Frost, then Yunsu. And this is going to be a Zerg vs. Zerg to kick things off, the first game of the 4-day tournament. As both players will make their way to the booth.
All right, so DongRaeGu versus Sasquatch. What do you make of this this series here at Apollo in terms of who you feel has? Obviously, we know that DongRaeGu has that clear advantage, but do you feel that Sasquatch can kind of step it up? It is ZVZ, can be a little bit volatile.
Anything can happen in ZVZ, but this is obviously a clear favorite towards DRG. DRG is such a well-established player. He's been to the top of the top. Even though he's not there quite now, he's got the experience. He knows what it takes to be able to make it deep into a tournament. And even though he's not in the main tournament yet, a player like DongRaeGu is absolutely going to be gunning for an instant win here, probably looking at a 2-0. And it is going to be down to Sasquatch to make something happen here. It's not so much DongRaeGu to make it happen. It's not like DongRaeGu's coming to this saying, all right, I'm going to do something special to win 2-0. No, he's actually just going to play his normal game. And it's going to be up to Sasquatch here, as you can see, the player from Complexity, to do something to try to stop a player like DRG. It's going to be difficult, but in StarCraft, it happens a lot. Anything can happen.
And just in general, how ZVZ has gone on in Heart of the Swarm. Right now in the metagame of ZVZ, in the standard metagame of ZVZ, where do we sit at?
Well, ZVZ is, depending on the maps, it's a very heavy towards Mutalisk play. Which is something that has been very common for a long time in ZVZ. And that's something we could see in this series as well. But depending on the map, and the reason why it depends on the map is it's actually all about scouting your opponent's gas. With the information you can gather from that, you can kind of tell what your opponent's up to. And this may push down certain strategies that may not be as common as you'd usually expect. But, anything's possible, and we'll see what both of these players are up to. So the first map is Belcher Vestige. And talking about maps that you can get a lot of scouting information on, this is perfect. An Overlord on the natural sees both of the Vespene Geysers, which you can start to build a plan of what your opponent's up to. You can see the drone line quite easily. Yeah, I think this is a good map for both players to actually start on because it's a good scouting map. It's a good feel out your opponent map, which is always important when you start off a tournament.
Yeah, and it's interesting how ZVZ actually took shape because, we had at the very beginning of Heart of the Swarm that method of just getting through the mid game with a lot of Mutalisks. Then obviously the Spore Crawler change came in, but and that deterred people from going for a lot of Mutalisks. But now, as of late, we see the movement back to that. We see that ability to say, well, you know, I can actually just negate the positioning of them and try and push forward to that. And I believe, you know, we've spoken about it at previous great length previously, but it's all really focused around that third base, right?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a focus point for both players once they get into this. For one, though, I'm rather happy to be back in America commentating again. It's been a long time, actually. I think my last event was maybe the last IPL tournament that ever happened, around December, November time last year.
I think, unbelievably, this is my first time casting in America. There's been other moments where I've been like, let's go and cast, but oh well. Yeah, it's my first time here in America, so I'm certainly looking forward to it. Comic-Con looks awesome.
Well, Kolaris, I know, and I've seen you walking around.
Yeah.
You have been enjoying yourself. There's a lot of cosplay girls. I don't know what they're dressed up as. They're just in different costumes for me. But I know you've been enjoying yourself quite a bit.
It's been good. And
hopefully this 4-day tournament can continue to be a good one for you.
Hopefully. For me personally, apparently. But also for these players, as we have DongRaeGu and Sasquatch about to get into this first game. And as you said, Belshire Vestige is our map. And then from there, we'll see what goes on. But in this bracket, it's not do or die in the very first series. Obviously, if you do fall in this first game, then you do have that lower bracket to kind of cushion yourself, but there, it really is do or die.
And everybody wants to get into the group play, which is the, you know, the next part of the tournament, stage 2 it's called, which is where 16 players will be fighting out. And that's where the prize money starts. That's where the WCS points actually come to play. And that's where everyone wants to be. So it is going to be a difficult road to get there. There's a lot of good players within this open bracket, which we're trying to push towards that. And remember, this is the last Tier 1 event of the year before BlizzCon happens, not too far away. So this is important for a couple of players here. Maybe not these two players, but still, you know, it's to consider.
Yeah, when you've got someone like DongRaeGu currently sitting at like 65th in WCS rankings, there's pretty much, even if he were to win this guaranteed, there's not much chance of him like advancing onto BlizzCon, for example. But he is here for the money predominantly, and also, you know, there is that thing in his mind of him being here previously and having won the entire tournament, so wants to maybe defend that title a little bit.
Yeah, everybody loves to enter a StarCraft 2 tournament and do well. And, well, these two players, can they start that here? Looks like both players now are ready, or at least Sasquatch is, and DRG will be ready in a second's time, I suppose. $25,000 up for grabs, though, if we look outside the WCS system.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. And DRG being the champion of 2011. A long time ago, I remember watching it. It was the DRG and Fruit deal in the finals.
Yes.
And it was like quite a one-sided finals, if I remember. It was like 3 games to 1 or
DongRaeGu was pretty good, man. Back in the day, he was like a ZVZ god. He was very good in ZVZ.
And to be honest, the matchup hasn't really changed that much.
No,
so
not too much.
I think that we could see a dominant performance coming out from DRG because he's expected to make it out the open bracket. It'll be weird to see him drop this first game. Even though Sasquatch, you know, maybe he's coming into this very confident in himself, but I mean, for a lot of StarCraft 2 fans, they're going to be like, all right, well, if he beats him, he's probably going to be an upset.
Yeah, certainly so. DongRaeGu, a household name by now, having won quite a few tournaments himself, having even defeated one of our WCS EU representatives in a GSL final in the form of Genius all those years ago. I think it was almost 2 years ago, wasn't it?
It's been a while. It's been a while.
But after we saw him playing against Innovation in WCS Korea, he certainly looked pretty darn good. So let's see how he's going to fare here in ZVZ.
That's right. So this game is starting now, so we'll be getting right into it. DRG a clear favorite here. I'd be surprised if anything else was to happen.
Yeah, I kind of would as well, but there is always the opportunity. There is certain volatility to ZVZ, as we mentioned before. But now we can get into game number 1, guys, as we have DongRaeGu and Sasquatch already loaded up and in our first game of the day for day 1 of the Intel Extreme Masters. Here we are, DongRaeGu and Sasquatch. DongRaeGu sporting a new jacket here by looks of things for MVP.
He looks like an Olympic runner.
He does, actually, you're right. Oh well. Anyway, spawning up to the top left-hand corner, we have our red Zerg. Representing MVP as well as Korea, he is DongRaeGu. And down to the bottom right-hand corner, we have our blue Zerg, representing complexity as well as America. He is Sasquatch.
Do you believe
Do I believe?
that Sasquatch can win this series? Are you a believer?
There could be an opportunity for him to do, but it's going to be a slim chance because DongRaeGu's pretty good at ZVZ, even now, still good at ZVZ. And again, DongRaeGu comes into the open brackets as one of the strongest contenders, alongside people like Life and Curious, of course, who we saw in the Intel Extreme Masters career qualifiers absolutely do splendidly there. So DongRaeGu's, he's got a shot.
Well, as you can see, I mean, both players have opened up here with a hatchery first, not really trying to play cautiously with an early spawning pool, and as we can see, DRG actually decided to get his extractor before spawning pool. So his spawning pool's a little bit later, only a little bit though, because Sasquatch actually delayed his spawning pool himself by building an additional drone. But from this position, DongRaeGu will have an earlier Zergling speed. Both Overlords will spot the hatchery coming down earlier on before the spawning pool, which means they'll go inside the main base here to try to have a look at the gas timings for sure.
Just have a little bit of a see what they can find out, and then from there it's anybody's pickings. Of course, you end up having interesting attacks and assaults with banelings and baneling nests eventually being thrown down. Generally, if I see a baneling nest in the main base, I'm thinking a bit more of an aggression, but you do see oftentimes baneling nests at the naturals, a bit more of a defensive posture. You can actually, hide queens in interesting little places in between buildings, deny surrounds a bit easier with that, and it could be quite useful.
One of the things I really like at international tournaments is looking at different styles of play.
Yeah.
Because already in this game we have two different, largely different styles here. We have Sasquatch, who's gone into the main base and see DRG get an early Zergling speed. On the other hand, DRG's gone inside the main base of Sasquatch to see no extractors being taken yet. So it's a much more heavy focus on minerals, a heavier focus on drones and queens. Double gases have been added on here by Sasquatch, not too late actually. Some Zerg players like to go up to 4 queens before adding them on, but just 2.
Yeah.
Is DRG now going to say, do I be aggressive against this versus a player who isn't really going to have Balings down early? Or do I open up with a faster third base versus a player who can't have Zergling speed very early, and there's nothing he can do about me taking a third hatchery?
Wow, and DongRaeGu also sending his first queen out there just to push the Overlord away. This is going to give his opponent a little bit of insecurity because, well, actually the Overlord is still in range of the Zerglings being able to run by, but if he were to have pushed that a little bit further, the 8 Zerglings that are now on the way for DongRaeGu could have tried to sneak past and try to be annoying.
He's hiding them too.
Oh.
So he's actually building a lot here.
Yeah.
The queens have pushed back, and also he shows 2 queens on the front door. Showing 2 queens initially to that Overlord says, well, he's got like 3 queens. He clearly can't be going for aggression here. So DongRaeGu is trying to get in there fast. There's 20 Zerglings being made. The Baneling Nest is on its way for Sasquatch, but it's quite a while away from being built. There's a massive window here for DRG to win the game just really fast.
There really is. He's got 31 Zerglings out right now against 2. We have 4 more extra being added on for Sasquatch, but there's really no more other than that. He has no lava to produce extra Zerglings right now. He had drones on the way.
Claris, the game is almost over. I mean, he has no Baneling Nest, he has Lings on the way, but there's so many from DRG, and there's only more coming. He's lost the queens, he's going to lose his lava production, and well, he's, not too far away from losing this game here.
He's up the creek without a paddle. He's up the creek without a paddle, my friend. The queens are going to end up dying. Those drones are in a good position defensively, but other than that, there's nothing to kill off these Zerglings.
Yeah, well, 2 Banelings to get him off, but as you can see, the worker supply is still in the lead for Sasquatch. He's lost a lot. Can he hold on here? He's lost his queens, he's lost his production. DRG behind it is building more and more Zerglings.
Just rounding them across the map. I mean, he knows that a Baneling Nest is there, so he's going to just have to micro a little bit more intensively against those Banelings when they enter the fray, but other than that, he can sit at the natural, do damage there, whilst keeping him busy in the main. This is really impressive play by DongRaeGu.
All DRG needs to do, keep building and keep lava injecting. He's simply going to have a larger amount of units because his opponent has lost all his queens. DRG still has 2. He's even got a Baneling Nest on the way here, which is going to aid out. But simply, he can overrun his opponent as long as he just keeps on making units. Look at the supply differences.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for Sasquatch, opened up maybe a little bit too greedy with his economy and is getting beaten down by a player who just took full advantage.
There you go, GG for game number 1. DongRaeGu will take the first map here in this best of 3 as we now find out who's going to advance on to that second round in the upper bracket in this opening.
Yeah, I mean, this is not the best of starts here for Sasquatch as DongRaeGu warms himself up by beating an opponent with his pink mouse.
And his pinky by the sounds of things. I mean, there wasn't really a whole lot that DongRaeGu had to do in that first game.
Very simple game.
Very, very simple.
Goes in, sees his opponents playing a different style to normal, builds Zerglings, kill him.
And I think in general, if you're DongRaeGu there and you go in and you say, oh, well, actually, you have no extractors taken right now, you can kind of, you know, premeditate exactly when their speed's going to be coming out, and also the probability that their Bailey Nest is going to be delayed as well. So I think it's pretty well calculated there by DongRaeGu.
Yeah, like I said, there's two ways to play against it. You just go in and kill them if you feel you can, or you take a faster third base and exploit that they're being greedy and not really having an option to be out on the map. When you can actually go take a third, get a better economy. But either way, Sasquatch tried something in game number 1. I'm not too sure if he's going to try it in map number 2. I can't remember map number 2 actually, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to be a smaller map like Belshir Vestige. I think it's like Polar Knight or something, which is going to be a little bit more difficult to achieve something along the lines that he just tried.
Yeah, Polar Knight and then Yonsu, I think. So we will be getting into those in a second. And as you said, I'm expecting a little bit more of a different play from Sasquatch as well. Going into game number 1, you get royally trounced by a very, very quick assault there by DongRaeGu, and then you got to mix things up a bit. Otherwise, you're just asking for trouble, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you're playing against a player who's won 3 major StarCraft 2 titles. So this is a player that you don't really want to be trying to run risks against, maybe. Or maybe you do. Maybe you're saying, well, I hope he doesn't punish me and I can get away with some things. But at the same time, if he identifies a weakness, he's going to come and kill you.
All right, well, we'll be getting into game number 2 in just a little bit here. But it's not as important for these two players specifically, but the importance of this tournament in a WCS spectrum of things is really up there. You've got a player like Naniwa currently participating in the tournament who absolutely needs points. Otherwise, for example, you have players in WCS Korea like Su, who's currently sat at 19th, who is going to be accruing a lot of points. So you've got players like Naniwa coming in who absolutely need to perform so tip-top in this tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. Neither of these players, though, not too interested in WCS points.
No.
Not really high up. Doesn't really change anything if they grab a couple more. But so, you know, thinking going into this next game that Sasquatch has to choose from and what to do, it is going to be Frost. So Frost coming in now. This could be a better map for him to be more successful on. It's bigger.
Yeah.
Maybe. Well, I mean, what do you think that he needs to do to be able to beat DRG? Or how should he approach this game?
I think going back to 1 gas a little bit earlier than double gas and waiting it out. But at the same time, because it is such a big map, DongRaeGu can't as easily take those aggressive risks or aggressive moves as well as he could do on the first map. Because obviously, all 4 spawn positions are allowed, so he might not scout him out that quickly. It might be a little bit harder for DongRaeGu to read into his opponent. So maybe actually Sasquatch just sticks with his game plan from game number 1, now that I think about it.
So, I mean, aside from builds then, what about unit composition? Are we looking at Mutalisk, maybe Roach, double evolution, double upgrade those Roaches, Roach Hydra, Infestor play? Well, I mean, from all the games that you've seen and played, what's your favorite?
For me, it's Mutalisks.
Mutalisks, okay.
For me, it is Mutalisks. And I would actually be a little bit worried for Sasquatch if he was to go up against DongRaeGu with Mutalisks. DongRaeGu's pretty good at that style.
He is, isn't he?
Yeah. So that might be something that he wants to kind of avoid. But at the same time, if you do avoid it and try and avoid it just in general, what do? Do you go Roach Infestor, try and lock the Mutalisks down with some Hydralisks later on? What do you do to shut down Mutalisks?
Do it yourself.
You go Mutalisk as well.
Or just like a heavy Zerglin player, double upgrades, Spore Crawl, something like that.
Yeah.
So aside from the games we're just now about to get in, we've had a couple of days in New York.
Yes.
What have you actually done? Because I've been hanging out a lot within Feather and walking around with my observer buddy, and I've seen a lot and done a lot. What have you done?
You generally would see a lot walking around with him, Feather, if he is the observer.
What have you done?
I've walked around with Todd for quite a bit, and we've eaten lots of food and had lots of lovely Starbucks and
have
things
you explored
like that.
things? What have you explored?
We walked around, tried to change money, and Todd couldn't because he couldn't find it, and then... yeah, that's pretty much.
You explored an ATM in New York.
We explored ATMs of New York. It was amazing. All right, well, we can get into game number 2 here between DongRaeGu and Sasquatch. Find out who's going to advance on through the upper bracket. DongRaeGu looking poised to take this first spot here in this first series for today.
Floating in space.
And yes, space is very apt. All right, spawning up to the top right-hand corner here as our red Zerg, representing MVP as well as Korea, he is DongRaeGu.
Some call him the final boss.
Some do. He used to be a very strong final boss.
He's the starting boss today.
He is the starting boss. That's how we're going to have to take this. And down to the bottom right, as our blue Zerg, representing complexity as well as America, he is Sasquatch.
And New York too. He's from New York,
Yes.
so I've been told.
Homeboy hero.
Let's see how well he's going to do here in this next map. So as you can see, Frost is a much larger map here, but they've seen each other very early on with their individual overlords. So this does change a little bit here.
Yeah, it does. I think that, you know, after we were alluding to maybe Sasquatch just sticks to what he knows, then I think he doesn't now. I think he has to change. Otherwise, DongRaeGu will exploit him as he did in game number 1.
Well, I think if they hadn't have seen each other here, we very well could have seen Hatchery first straight away.
Yeah.
But now that they know exactly where they are, any form of rush becomes stronger because they know exactly where to go. So we actually see both players going for the spawning pool and then the hatchery compared to the previous before.
Well, that's going to keep them a little bit more of a nice defensive standpoint. There's the hatchery going down there as well for DongRaeGu. But again, these spawn positions can be quite interesting depending on how long the game goes on for, where you want to expand later on. Obviously, the thirds, much better down to the south or the north for these players, if you are spawning in the south or north. And aside from that, fourth bases, well, we'll see if we get there. It's going to be a lot of Mutalisks or anything of the mid-tech before that.
Look at Sasquatch building 6 Zerglings, yet not taking gas here. He's going to try to put on a bit of pressure while droning heavily and focus on Queen production behind this.
How well can this work?
Well, to be honest, DongRaeGu hasn't built any Zerglings yet, so this can work okay.
Yeah.
I mean, DRG will have to build a couple of Zerglings here, maybe 4. Doesn't need 6 of his own because he's going to have Queens. He's actually building 2, so it's a nice balance here, unless he just hasn't got Lava, which that also could be the case. Yeah, so 4. I wouldn't go to 6 here. Because you actually, you have to spend 3 Lava to build 6 Zerglings.
Yeah.
But then you as a defender are just building 2 sets.
Well, it's quite interesting in general. I mean, if you're a Sasquatch here and you see that your opponent is defending with Queen and 2 Zerglings, surely you find yourself in a bit of a odd spot when it comes to Lava management and then eventually drones, right?
Sure, but he's hoping, DRG overbuilds maybe, builds 6, builds 8. DRG's kind of responded in the correct manner. Also, drones are not mining on the natural because he can't send them down straight away here. Behind this, DRG has got the Zergling speed, is still mining gas, still nothing from Sasquatch. And he's actually gone up to 3 Queens, maybe 4 soon.
I like the 4-Queen play, man. Especially if you can get the kind of defense really, really solid at your natural. Then I like that. But Sasquatch coming back again, trying to find a way in.
Well, he's actually got a little bit of room here. Maybe a drone kill can happen.
Maybe. He has to pull back here and try and deter these Zerglings from doing anything. He does have the vision, so we'll try and pursue. But aside from that, this is a cute little dance right now.
Yeah, and it's going to end in one way soon because DRG's building 4 more Lings and already has Zergling speed on the way. So
yeah,
the Zerglings from Sasquatch, considering he's playing a very defensive style, actually need to go home now. He should be able to anticipate his opponent's Zergling speed being ready very soon. So this is very easy, a movement back to his Spine Crawl and his Queens on the natural. And he's now taking the double gases. So he's set up with a stronger economy, as you can see in the drone count. He should be looking at more drones once these pop out. It's actually very equal, but with 6 more on the way, he will take the lead.
DongRaeGu, I must commend him on his ability to not overreact in general, though. That's really nice. And the Zerglings do move back just to get away from any speedlings that they would deal with. And
double evolution chamber from Sasquatch in the wall and a Roach Warren. So he's going to be playing a very defensive, and he's already started to spread his creep in the way of a 3rd base. Unluckily, loses 1.
Yeah. Not the best positions.
I mean, from this position, DRG, I don't think can play Spire at all. I think he may have to just go into regular play of his own, but he may be behind in upgrades.
I like how he reads into that creep, though. He's like, well, you're anticipating turking a 3rd. I'll just take my 3rd that little bit quicker and see how you're going to really deal with that. And if Sasquatch actually throws anything over his way, it's just going to be +1 Roaches, which... they're not going to have speed anytime soon, so it'll be easy for him to kind of react to it.
Unfortunately, Sasquatch did mistime his gas. He couldn't get 1-1 at the same time, and even starts a layer before this. So he's not really using the double evolution chamber as his main strategy if he's going to get the layer here. He's got them as a wall-off, but only using just a single evolution chamber here. That means his unit count's going to be a lot higher than usual if he's just going to focus on one evolution chamber.
But all the while, DongRaeGu, whilst poking around at the front, he sees only one evolution chamber kind of pulsating there. So he knows kind of the position his opponent's in, and he even sees the layer as well. So this is really good scouting information from DongRaeGu. His layer is a little bit further behind, but his third is quicker, so he has to make sure those Zerglings don't die.
I much prefer DRG's position here.
Yeah.
I mean, he's taken a faster third base. He's got the same amount of units and upgrades as his opponent, but he's got a faster third hatchery. His Zerglings here are going to, try to delay the third. They did a little bit. They're going to make a bit of a run by. Could get a queen inside the main base here.
Actually, this is really, really nice for him. Getting that queen will deny a little bit of production.
He's going to try both, I think.
I think he could. The drones actually come off the line to try and save this, and it should be cleaned up before that queen ends up dying.
Yeah, but Miss Lava injects there. DRG getting everything better than his opponent. And if you look at the drone count, DRG at 61. He doesn't need to overdrawn from this position. He should be starting his Roach production right away. As the Roach Warren finishes, there begins the Roach squad. And to be honest, he's winning in every sense of the word right now.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, there's maybe a little bit of an advantage when it comes to Sasquatch's upgrades, but he's not going to be able to break as an opponent. He's actually droning himself. And what Sasquatch has to be careful about is what happens if DRG keeps hitting his Lava Injects, keeps hitting Overlords, and just attacks with nothing but Roaches from this position.
You can't deal with it. The reinforcement path for DongRaeGu is going to be shorter, right? He's going to have way more units. Of course, Clear Reconstitution will be finished very soon after that as well. And Sasquatch, he feels he has to pull back. There's nothing he can do here other than go on to his third and play from behind.
Yeah, he's definitely playing from behind. And the way that he got down this was basically DRG saw what he was doing, did the same, but took a faster third base, therefore has a higher economy and better production.
He just knew that there was nothing that Sasquatch should do. And now these queens, where are you going, queens? All the while they were trying to walk over there to transfuse, I guess, but they got an overlord for their troubles, and we'll have to fall back. So, DongRaeGu, what are you doing? You have... Did he have any more tech going down? He just had the one evolution chamber, right? Finish up, and that's about it.
Yeah, he's on double evolution chamber, still Roach Warren. But as he drones towards his third base now, and is starting to get a bit of a better gas income, we could see the Hydralisk Den come down soon. Sometimes players do like to go over to Infestors, but I think the Hydralisk Den will be fine for DRG.
Yeah, I think so as well. It would just provide him that extra little bit of firepower. Look how close the upgrades are now. Sure, Sasquatch does have the Carapace about to finish up, but the +1 weapons has been nicely evened up as well. A slight poke in here from DongRaeGu, but it doesn't even necessarily need to kill right now.
DRG built like 4 overlords in a row now. He's just looking to build a big army as fast as possible. With the upgraded, and the economy advantage he has. 3 more overlords start, he's looking to just mass up now.
And it's interesting, whoop, actually as Roach is moving forwards, nice transfuse, does keep that spine for a while, but not too long. Sasquatch is transitioning into Baneling Mass, thinking that his opponent's gonna go Hydralisks. But what DongRaeGu does here is he's just going Infestation Pit, saying, well, that's fine, I can quite easily transition onto something else. I don't think he saw the Baneling Mass, but it's still a nice choice here from DongRaeGu.
Yep, and DRG just steamrolling ahead right now. It's very difficult to change the state of the game simply because you're on the same stuff. And here comes a fight that is better for Sasquatch here. I think he has more units.
He has +1 Carapace as well, which might be able to aid him in this fight. 32 Roaches to 28 right now, and he will chase him away. A lot of DongRaeGu's units were just trying to stream forwards there as well. So Sasquatch evening up the supplies a little bit here.
But the big difference now is that, DRG's decided to tech up to Infestors, though. Not Hydralisk Infestors, so he will have very surely a better economy. Not a better economy, sorry, a better composition than his opponent, because he's building Infestors. And also getting now his +2 Carapace.
And these engagements show how well clumped up those Roaches are. So Infestors coming in, moving into the fray are going to absolutely tear Sasquatch apart if he's not careful. And it's really hard just in general to go into these engagements with a good spread of Roaches, right? You have to have a brilliant concave setup initially to greet your opponent, and even then they could take another route.
Well, we're going to see Zerglings being made here, and I think what we could see is a style that some players use. Actually, hold that thought, as DRG just go in and lose a little bit more there as well. But we do see a lot of people like to get Baneling speed and just swell the opponent's army with Banelings. It doesn't matter if he has Hydralisk here. He can do it into Roaches too. The burst damage that the Banelings can offer maybe can change the fight. I can't remember who did it in Korea recently. Maybe Curious? I'm not too sure exactly. No, Symbol, I think it was. Symbol did it. Actually picked off a queen there, by the way, DRG. But it's not going to be good what he's trying to do here, Sasquatch, against a player who's got Infestors. Like, they're simply just land a fungal, and you're not going to get the burst damage which you're hoping to get.
Exactly. Those poor Banelings aren't going to be able to do a single thing if they can't connect, right? So these 14 Banelings, if he were to try and use them as effectively as possible, you need to split them all up going into an engagement, but even that has its own troubles with roaches getting in the way, with not that much room to actually engage into, and DongRaeGu is setting himself up a pretty good concave to greet his opponent.
Well, the Infestors are going to be important here.
Ooh.
Uh-oh.
Nice move here by Sasquatch, but at the same time, a good fungal will hit quite a bit of that army. But taking two sides of this engagement, and those Banelings at the back.
And remember, DRG can remax faster. He's closer here, so...
Yeah, this is going to help out quite a lot. The Banelings actually do get through that entire wall there and connect with a lot of roaches, but still, DongRaeGu has the numbers, he has the power, and he's able to push this away quite easily.
Yeah, this is okay for DRG. He's able to like remax faster because his base is closer to where the fight is actually going on, but he has lost queens here. But right now, Sasquatch is piling on the pressure, but the Infestors are going to make a big difference between them. Much more cost efficient. He's going to be able to recycle them because, of course, energy is going to keep on building itself up here. And DRG is now saying, all right, well, let me now use that advantage that I have these Infestors and push you back. You spend a lot of gas into Banelings, which means you don't have Infestors, you don't have Hydralisks. You're kind of improving his army. So DRG has a composition, and it's way more valued at this point. Even the army supply is in his favor, the numbers.
Plenty more Infestors on the way as well, my friend. 4 Infestors already out with 3 added on very soon. Adding on Burrow as well for maybe some surprise attacks. And we only have, well, we do have 2 Overseers out for Sasquatch, and he is keeping one with his army. That's very important, but DongRaeGu could quite easily use these Infestors for a little bit of harassment as well if he's able to find his way around.
Well, 7 Infestors is pretty large here.
Yeah.
Sasquatch is trying to go over to Hydralisk, but I don't think well, sure, he obviously needs to make his army stronger. But the big problem here is that he doesn't have a 4th base as well, and both players' main base is running out. They need to keep mining off 3 bases.
And we did lose a few Overlords there for Sasquatch, so a slight supply block
25 Banelings.
Whoa, that's
a
lot
single
of Banelings.
fungal is going to just destroy this if they're not coming in from different angles.
Yeah, and, well, he's actually rallied them to a few different locations, but... again, it's very important. No, they're all going to be clumped up very soon as well here. A nice small engagement by DongRaeGu initially to take a few of those roaches down. And those fungals actually land on all of the Banelings. Oh, what a great connection. Bye-bye Banelings for now. Only half of them end up connecting on those roaches. And regardless if Sasquatch has the better concave, if he lands a few more fungals, he should be able to win through, but
he doesn't have any more fungals. And to be honest, the Banelings actually hit there. The Infestors are safe. They do make their way back. But look at the supply differences. And almost remax out there for DRG. He's actually still winning, or at least, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So be careful with these units there.
A little bit of a move command there, but he was resupplying with 34 roaches against around 14. That shows the superior economy that we have behind this for DongRaeGu, who can quite easily now just, if he wants to, plow across and do a lot of damage.
Well, when you use energy in the fights like this, you're actually saving money.
Yeah.
So if you look at the resources lost, a lot of the fungals that did damage, you know, overall, we see a lot more money been spent and wasted by Sasquatch. Therefore, the money that wasn't wasted and spent by DongRaeGu, he's able to remax back to 200 supply instantly here. Better fights every time. Energy, much more cost efficient than actual Banelings here.
Seems DongRaeGu is being a little bit cautious, not fully knowing the position that his opponent's in, but that's fine for him because, again, he has that superior army. He's even getting his hive out as well. Of course, Sasquatch is mixing in Hydralisks, but if they actually just get locked down with fungals themselves, and a few of them do hit those, then they shred up the Hydras very fast.
In ZVZ, it's always important to focus on your army size before you try to make it stronger. And in this point, Sasquatch, even though he'll have Hydralisks, which are great units, he simply won't have enough. Oh, that pained me.
Well, he did scratch those Infestors, but now that's not even necessarily the best place for DongRaeGu to fight up into.
No, but he was looking if he could win the game there. He knows he's in a very dominant position.
He does.
And now he takes a much better fight here. He's going to have to force his opponent to fight down a ramp, and he's going to kill the third. So
that's the best position he could have taken, forcing the fight or not, and kills it off and runs away.
And now has 4 bases to 2. And Sasquatch is saying, well, I've lost my third. I need to do something here. And he's going to try to take a fight. DRG's waiting with fungals.
Catches a few of those units. Any few units that he can catch in general is going to be a nice trade there for DongRaeGu. He's going to pull back because his opponent was setting up a nice concave.
But look at the money in the bank for DRG. He could lose this army twice and just rebuild it.
Yeah, it's just too much here. The concave will be in slight favor of Sasquatch, but it doesn't really matter. A great Banelings that wanted to filter through as well. And through that, DongRaeGu takes the more superior position, killing off all of those units that were already weak from the fungal growth. There you go. GG. DongRaeGu takes it 2-0 here. in pretty convincing fashion.
Yeah, DongRaeGu starts his road to the main tournament of the Intel Extreme Masters here live from New York City. And the 2-0 first game of the day, easy peasy. And of course he'll move on to the second part of the tournament.
He has a lovely hat.
Nice hat there, DongRaeGu. He'll of course be playing up against the winner of Shu versus Suppi. And unfortunately there, for Sasquatch, he will fall down to the lower bracket. This is double elimination in the open bracket here. So there are 2 chances for each player. But as DongRaeGu packs up his stuff, Sasquatch stares at the screen here as he suffers his first defeat of the tournament.
And, you know, during this bracket as well, obviously other games are going on. We've had Life advance over into the second round. Do we had any more results other than that? I don't think so, right?
I don't know.
Oh, well. Well, yeah. So currently we have the Muslim currently sat at 1-1 as well in his game. So some important results coming through here from these brackets as San advances over Destro, unfortunately, as Destro's not here yet.
Yeah, so just some results coming through so far, but of course it's still early days. Games are still happening behind our stage here, and results will continue to follow through as we get closer and closer to finding out the 4 players from the double open brackets that we have running simultaneously to find out who will make it to the main tournament. There's 12 players in group stages already waiting for them tomorrow. Today, we have to find the 4.
Yeah, if you are able to advance through the open brackets, then you guarantee yourselves WCS points as well as prize pool. So both of those, very nice once you're able to get through. But again, the open brackets are very competitive with players like Life and DongRaeGu and San and Hack in there. Some really high-powered Koreans.
That's right, a lot of the Koreans here playing in the open bracket, looking to make it to group play. And so far, so good. DongRaeGu 2-0, Life 2-0 as well. Just every player starting off their tournament, but of course the lower bracket is where we're going to see some of these Americans go up against other Americans, go up against some Canadians, and maybe try to find an opportunity to make it to the higher end of the open bracket here.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we can hear from our winner from the previous series, Mr. DongRaeGu, along with Smix.
Congratulations, DongRaeGu, on winning your first match of the open bracket. You know, I just want to pick at him and see what his feelings are coming into this tournament and winning so easily in a convincing 2-0. 일단 첫 경기를 2대0으로 이긴 거 축하드리고요. 이제 1경기, 2경기? 1경기는 좀 쉽게 끝났어요. 그렇게 쉽게 끝날 거라고 예상을 했는지, 그리고 두 번째 경기에서는 좀 더 운영으로 갔는데, 그냥 그 경기에 대해서도 좀 설명해 주세요.
1경기 같은 경우는 그냥 첫 경기니까 상대방 실력을 재보기 위해서 좀 찌르기식으로 했었는데 그게 좀 잘 먹혀서 그냥 빨리 끝났던 것 같고요. 2경기 같은 경우는 그냥 서로 무난하게 운영 싸움을 가는 바람에 그렇게 됐던 것 같아요.
Yeah, he says, so I asked him about the first 2 games. In the first game, we saw that the game really ended quickly, and then the second game, it went into a longer macro game. So he says, in the first game, I think I was kind of lucky. I went for fast speed links, and it did really, really well. I was able to catch him off guard, and that's why I was able to win. In the second game, he says, that, you know, it kind of went into a standard macro game, and I think I just had really good engagements, and that's why I was able to win. 그러면 이제 뉴욕으로 왔어요. 지난번에 이 대회 뉴욕에 왔을 때 우승을 했잖아요. 그럼 그거에 대해서 좀 얘기해 주세요. 이번에도 목표가 우승인지?
네, 물론이에요.
네.
물론이라고요.
그러니까 지난번에 이 대회에 왔을 때 우승했잖아요. 뉴욕에서. 그래서 그거에 대해서 좀 얘기해 주세요. 이번에도 목표가 우승이세요?
네. 그때 처음 제가 아마 큰 대회 우승이었을 거예요. 네. 그때 처음으로 우승을 하고 그 뒤로 계속 또 여러 번 우승했었는데 이번 올해 제가 경기를 잘 못 풀어가지고 또 다시 이번에 우승해서 내년 경기 잘 풀어가고 싶어요. 네.
Yeah, the last time, so I asked him the last time you were at IEM Intel Extreme Masters New York, he won the tournament. He actually won the whole tournament, and I asked him about that and how he feels, what his goals are for this tournament. And he says, actually, that tournament that I won was the first major, win that I had. So from then on, I was able to win many other tournaments. And so with this tournament, I really want to win again. I haven't really been able to showcase my true potential recently. So I want to take this chance to really showcase my potential again and just show you guys that I'm back. 이제 팬들에게 좀 한마디만 해주세요.
영어로 해도 돼요?
Guys, he's gonna say something to you guys in English.
I don't have enough time to hesitate in the open bracket. Wish me luck.
Well, congratulations again, DongRaeGu. Guys, we're going to cut to the analysis desk to hear a breakdown of these games. Todd?
Thank you very much, Smix. Fantastic performance by DongRaeGu in this first match here. Dominating performance. I think he's just shown us why he's here. He's not here to visit Times Square, to visit the Statue of Liberty or the Empire State Building. He's here to win the tournament, and it really showed in the first game of this series. He was able to trick his opponent, and then he won the very first game very, very quickly and very convincingly. But we are going to be taking a look at the second game here, where we had a lot of exchanges throughout the entirety of the game. And here we are at about the 17th minute mark. The supplies are pretty even. Both players are almost maxed out, 200 supply against 196. Both players actually getting burrow at about the same time. If we look at the composition here, can we pause the game for a second? We're going to see that we have infestors in the composition of DongRaeGu, whereas his opponent is on pure roaches right now, which was a little bit weird. Sasquatch first tried to get some banelings, but it didn't do that well for him. And being against infestors, if you get banelings, it's very, very risky. You can get fungal, you can lose everything instantly. So at this point, it comes down to the concave, the micro, and both players, they're going to remax at about the same capability. They can remake army about the same length, I guess you could say. And now we have DongRaeGu moving across the map. He wants to get a good engagement here. He has actually a much better bank. He was on a few more drones, and at this point, if he gets a good engagement, he can end the game. And that's exactly what he's going to try to do. He gets a few roaches out of position here at first, and now he's just about landing good fungal Swiss here. These infestors, he gets all of those banelings, and this is huge. This is what I was talking about. That's why you don't get banelings against this composition, because if you get fungal like this, the banelings are just going to die. They're not going to do anything, and they were very costly units. So at this point, you can even see all the roaches of Sasquatch not being able to get too much surface area, and his supply is going to disappear very, very rapidly in this fight. In the meantime, look at the bank of DongRaeGu. He actually has so much more money than his opponent, which was not particularly supposed to happen at this point, but he was saturated on 4 bases against just 3. So he's going to take this fight very convincingly. He's remaxing. Can we see the production tab? He's remaking a lot of roaches. I'm guessing behind these 18 roaches, 34 roaches against 18, and he just can hand the game from there. You see 187 supply against 130. This is a game of numbers as well. So DongRaeGu able to outdo his opponent in the second game, who did put up a good fight, I guess you could say. He lasted a little bit longer than 18 minutes in the second game, but DongRaeGu very good showing here in this first match. Definitely looking forward to what he can do later on as well in this tournament. That's it with the analysis. Let's check in with Red Eye for now.
Thank you very much, Todd, and also thanks to Smix as well for the interview with DongRaeGu. There's a sign down here that says, praise the one true Dong. I don't know if he's the one true Dong, because I think underneath the sign it says J Dong. But anyway, we don't have him here. The Dong will have to do for now. Did very well in game number 1. We'll see him again later in the tournament. Remember, the winner of the upper bracket of the first open bracket will claim a place in tomorrow's group stage for the last 16. Also, don't forget, you can interact with us via all the usual social media channels, #IEM, of course, on Twitter. And don't forget to make sure you follow us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter as well. Let us know what you think of the first game. Who did you think did well? Who didn't do so well? I think it was pretty obvious. Also, tell us who you think might win the entire tournament. Will it be Naniwa? Will it be Flash, the man himself, the god himself? Or will it be someone else? You let us know via Twitter using the hashtag #IEM. We'll be right back after a short break with game number 2 from the open bracket number 8.
professional-grade communication tool. The choice of professional teams. Perfect stream viewing experience. Chosen by online streamers. Easy-to-use voice messenger service. Chosen by over 12 million gamers.
Communication is always vital when competing in tournaments. Winning a match requires perfect coordination. You cannot win by yourself.
Raid Call. Communication for winners.